Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Ted Jr. right here on Life on Wax with Ted Jr. And of course, we are back with another great show for you. And we have another special honored guest in the building, my brother, Mr. Jonathan Pulphus. Hey, Jonathan, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, brother Ted. How are you?
Man, I'm doing great, man. I'm excited to have you on the show. For those that don't know, I've known Jonathan for a long time. I remember meeting this brother as a young middle schooler. A young middle schooler out here living life. And so I'm excited to have him on the show. For those that are my normal guests and you've been here before, you know how we do. We bring a guest on and we have them give us 5. That's right, 5 songs that have inspired, motivated, or been important to them at some point throughout their life. And we use those 5 songs to really understand the core of a person and use those songs as a catalyst to the conversation that we're going to have. Now, I only bring people on the show that I'm interested in talking to. It's kind of the selfish nature of being able to have your own show. And I'm telling you, I wanted to talk to this brother because I've seen him grow and I've seen him be all that I know he can be with a trajectory to do even more. And I want to make sure I talk to him now before he gets too big. Before he gets too big to be on the show. So we got Jonathan on the show, man. And Jonathan, so we always tell people to pick those 5 songs. Mm-hmm. What was your first reaction when I said, "Give me 5 songs"? How did you figure out your process? Don't tell us the songs you picked yet, but tell us about your reaction.
When you said pick 5 songs, brother Ted, I was like, this is so brother Ted. Like, just in my past experiences through freedom schools, at Jameson and etc. Like, you always found creative ways to kind of break the ice, and that's exactly how I received the 5 songs. And how the music we listen to definitely tells a story that can be personal in a lot of ways. And so you said choose 5 songs they connected to just life and stuff like that, as I understood it, and I have experience and journey through it. Immediately I was like, oh, this is gonna be dope. And so I chose 5, and yeah.
Well, I'm glad, man. I'm glad you jumped right into it, but I couldn't have expected anything less. This kind of stuff you do, man. This kind of stuff you do. You jump in. So we're not gonna waste a lot of time just chit chat. I want to get into your playlist, man, because I'm always interested in the songs that people choose. I'm also sometimes interested in the order in which they give them to me. Mm-hmm. I don't, because sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't. Mm-hmm. But the fact that you came out the gate giving me a song, a Jay-Z song, I said, that boy's been raised right. Something's right with this brother. Mm-hmm. So talk to our people and let us know what made you decide to choose Dead Presidents Part 2 for your first song.
Yeah, so Jay-Z, my dad was a big fan of Jay-Z, and I'm a junior. You got the J in the name, and it's deeper than that.
Yeah.
But essentially, like, I remember sitting in the car with him a lot of times. We had conversations, and he played his music while he'd be working remotely and stuff like that. And so I connected his entrepreneurial spirit with Jay's in a lot of ways. And so Dead Presidents 2, it's the kind of song you listen to whenever payday finna come up. You know what I'm saying? When payday coming up, you're like, okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, and he has this, I got particular excerpts from each song that like really connect with me. But like in the beginning of Jay-Z's song, he talks about like, who want to bet us that we don't touch, let us stack cheddar forever, live treacherously all the etceteras. And so when he says that line, it's like, it's about staying focused, being determined, making sure that not that money is like the goal and like you only play it when payday coming up, but it's for me deeper, and it's a conversation around ambition and staying focused. And so that's why that song really resonated with me.
All right. Nice. And we're gonna talk a little bit more about this song by Jay-Z. But before we get into it, let's listen to it a little bit. Of course, this is Life on Wax with your boy Ted Jr. and my guest, brother Jonathan Pulphus. Yeah, that's my guy. So you said this song reminds you, or it's a connection with you and your dad.
Yeah, for sure.
And but then you also talked about how it brings up thoughts of determination and resilience.
Mm-hmm.
So how is that idea of determination and resilience pushed you into the spaces that you've been in so far?
I think in every
how they
space,
shown up.
yeah, in every space I've entered into, I've had to wrestle with different challenges, and you talk about hills and valleys in the church house and stuff like that. And so when everything's going well, everybody can, you know, flourish, everybody can be successful, all those different things. But when you hit that brick wall, how you respond to the unexpected, those things that surprise you, throw you off, that's I think the true measure of your determination. And so that's what that's been through my experiences with college, stuff happening in the community, um, family stuff, a whole bunch of series of things. And so that's how, in ways in which that song speaks to me on that level.
So what was one of those brick walls that you had to run into that you had to kind of be resilient to get through?
So I'll say for one, even I'll speak to college, like, so yeah, I went to undergrad at St. Louis University. Um, the honor was Slew's, not mine, but it was its own experience, right? And so Ted, you know what I'm saying, you used to pick me up from Patrick Henry downtown Academy. So after I left there, I had the privilege of going to Crossroads College Prep in the Central West End. And so it was a culture shock being black and being used to black spaces, faces, and places, and going out to a school that um it was just a lot. It was a culture shock, and so some of that experience I had to express. I had to put determination and stuff like that at the forefront to stay focused on my studying, but at the same time be a voice with and for Black students on addressing issues of like racism and issues that would pop up in school, whether that be the fact that we talk racism, I believe, is really connected to poverty in a lot of ways, and overlaps. And so you had white students at Crossroads, even at SLU. I'm gonna get to SLU at Crossroads complaining about not having enough parking spaces on the campus that we had at that school, right? Meanwhile, I'm catching the bus to get to school. You feel me? Like we operate on two different levels. You got a call at the age of 16. You know what I'm saying? And privileges like that around class is all connected. So when I went to SLU, determination showed up in the ways in which there continued to be this disconnect between Black students and white students. I immediately got with the Black Student Alliance. Even within there, you had class pop up a lot, but at the end of the day, we all agreed that we were all facing the same, like relatable experiences, is trying to navigate that predominantly white institution. But the determination got me through all of that, and so yeah.
Man, you wouldn't. Well, maybe some people would feel like SLU is a place that's got a lot of racial tension.
For sure.
So I went to Harris Stowe,
Dope.
Black historical Black college, oldest one west of the Mississippi. We did a lot of things while I was there. We did some things with the BSA at school, and I tell you, that BSA sometimes was hard to work with.
No, for sure. Yeah.
I just say, because we were all non-traditional students, most of us, and BSA was definitely not a bunch of non-traditional students.
Right.
So I'm guessing. So from what you're saying, there was some levels of tension just inside that space, and so I could believe that. Now I know you also done a lot of organizing, just out in the community. Do you feel like some of the same issues that you have inside of a BSA exist inside these other black groups, and if not, what makes it different?
When you say the issues within BSA compared to other Black groups, you mean like within the city?
Yeah, sure.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Without throwing out names and stuff, like it's
So,
definitely,
so
I
just
think,
just so you know, real quick, let me just say it.
yeah,
Because I've had to tell other guests, this is not
yeah,
a politically correct show.
uh-huh.
So
Okay, cool, cool.
and
Yeah,
so
yeah,
if you wanna keep names
yeah.
out, that's fine. It
Yeah,
don't that's not something I'm asking you to do. If you need to say some words to get it out the way you want to get it out,
yeah.
feel free. This is not a FCC or censored show. So be clear that you can say it ugly if you need to.
For sure, for
All right,
sure.
go ahead.
So I'll start with BSA. One of the things about BSA that challenged me, being from, you had a lot of students that attended school, black students, whatever, that were from different areas, right? But even those who were from St. Louis weren't necessarily from like North City, from areas that having disinvestment on maximum levels. So you got people with privilege, even though they experience, but oppression through their blackness. It's with a privilege. They came from privileged environments and stuff like that. And so at the school, often I'll give you an example of an issue that happened. So we got this thing called the Clock Tower Accords. It was an agreement between this organization, a grassroots organization that came together after the Ferguson uprising, called Tribex, that I was a part of. And so when it was time for the Clock Tower Accords to be signed, and the Clock Tower Accords was just an agreement between St. Louis University, Tribex, Black Student Alliance, and yeah, those were the three partners. When it was time for that agreement to be signed, and like the content of the agreement was like things like putting in place college readiness programs in high schools and stuff like that. Making sure that we have regular substantive conversations about racism, poverty, etc. on campus. Making sure we get like a community center in like North City and stuff like that, where SLU can lend some of its capital to the community directly. Stuff like that. Like it was a list of, it was like 10 to 12 agreements.
Mm-hmm.
When it was time to sign it, a lot of and I was with Tribex, but I was also a part of the Black Student Alliance. I'm in the room with these brothers and sisters talking about whether or not we should sign this agreement and what the pros and cons of it was. I'm not saying every agreement needs to be signed. That'd be a bad idea. But with something like that, I thought it would be unanimous, but it wasn't. Some of the students were worried about some of the pushback they were going to receive. Some of the students were worried about, they were saying, oh, well, we need to get it to general body vote and stuff like that. I'm all for making things democratic as democratic as possible, getting people's input, etc. But the urgency, Martin Luther King talks about the urgency of now in one of his
Right.
books. And that was one of those moments. And unfortunately, some of our leadership didn't show up. And so similarly, in the city of St. Louis, you have a lot of issues going on. Even when we go back to Ferguson, the way in which some organizations who are out didn't necessarily show up in the same in ways that I think were needed to address the issue. And to kind of get to that, what I mean is like you got brothers and sisters that have lost their jobs, being out in the streets trying to demonstrate in the name of something higher than themselves.
Yeah.
You got brothers and sisters out here who are risking their health, being exposed to this gas, etc. And there was supposed to be millions of dollars that came in to help support the movement and keep it
Oh,
forward.
man. No,
But
you
it
started
kind
with
of
that.
imploded because there was and there was efforts to like unify the movement and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it imploded because of some ego stuff. It imploded because of people not necessarily being on the same page, and some people I think lost sight of what the cause was about. And
Mm-hmm.
so I compare that to what my experience was with BSA, even though it's in the context of the same conversation around Ferguson. It was in two different spaces. You had this white institution, you had what's happening in the community, and a whole hell of a lot of organizations were responding to the crisis that ensued after Mike Brown. But at the end of the day, Darren Wilson is still free. And I know that's a judicial question that has something to do with the courts, but the ways in which, and not to say it wasn't good to come, no good that came out of Ferguson. I think that like there's a lot of effects from Ferguson and outcomes that came out that I think are substantive, like Wesley Bell being in office and all, and there's some back and forth with that. about what that means, but the ways in which we're starting to have national conversations around policing in a different kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
Black Lives Matter blew up after Ferguson because Trayvon Martin, it was that, but after Ferguson, it took off to another level.
Right.
So I think that substantive conversations are happening, but after a while, you got to get done. You get tired of talking, and you want that change that we start to come about.
At some point, you have to stop talking and you have to do. And when that time comes to do, you can't start hedging bets.
Right.
You can't start getting hesitant, especially if you were one of the ones talking big when we were just having conversations.
Right.
I've definitely been there with folks, and boy, I tell you, it's no fun.
Right.
It's no fun. So we're gonna talk a little bit more about Ferguson and uprisings and the killing of Mike Brown later on in the show. But I want to get back into your playlist because you went from my guy Jay-Z to Boosie.
Yeah, for
sure. and the song "That's Mama." All right, I can imagine what brought this song on, but let's talk about it.
Yeah, so for me, it's just a deep song, brother Ted. Like,
yeah.
Okay, so when Mother's Day came up, I think this was like a year or two ago. It was around the same time I had first heard this song, but I felt like it resonated with me, like Dear Mama, Tupac, stuff like that. And the thing I loved about it, he has this line in the song where he says, working 2 jobs a week just so we eat. They tried to shit on my fame. Who stuck up for my name? That's my mama. Yeah. And that line for me is like, it's saying through her, through the experiences that this woman, my mother, this queen has been through, what I've been able to do is possible. Often what happens is people forget that somebody made a way for them.
Right.
And so my mom, like, that's my mom. And so, like, I think Boosie, like, eloquently articulates that through the song, and I stand for it.
So I could be one to say your mom is pretty dope. Like, she's been dope for a long time. Yeah. So tell us about a time or anything in particular as you've been kind of on your own path where she's come in and done something that's either supported or helped guide you in a way that really made you look like, man, I'm so glad you did that.
It's been so many. I'm trying to let me zero in on something that comes to mind like immediately. So, like, my mom, whenever I talk to my mom about almost everything. And sometimes it's just that some people don't have that relationship with their parents, or fortunate like me to have both parents still here, like, where they can be there as someone to listen and process what you're going on. And my mom keeps me humble. I think that is like one of the most important things. When I feel like, I'm going through, or I'm experiencing some things that are just unique that nobody else goes through. Like, my mom is there to serve as a check, and keep me on track. It was just one time, even when my mom, like, even with, I go back, not to talk about the same topic, but even going back to the Clock Tower Accords and what happened with Ferguson and SLU, like, when I was in those rooms with the president of SLU, with these board members, with Tribe, with BSA, etc., the mentor for that organization, Tribex, I'm a part of, it was 3 brilliant black women: Ramona Taylor Williams, Alyssa Mixon, and my mama, Lolita Zazzaretti. She was in there, and she was in those rooms with me. So not only did I feel like I had the support of my peers around me, but I also had, on just a deeper personal level, that support of my mom and stuff like that. And she don't hold no punches. You know what I'm saying? She made sure that SLU was on top of their shit and doing what they said they were gonna do. We come on a bit. We still got a ways to go, but in that moment, she was there.
So was she kind of the foundation of a lot of your social justice mindset.
The way you put it is exactly how it is. My mom used to take like we kept like books around black culture, books around black consciousness are in the house. But whenever they had like black expos downtown, the Freedom School, me even meeting you through Freedom School, like my mom signed me up for that, right? She always was very key on me being grounded and connected to community and making sure that I stay focused and remember to never forget where I come from and where I'm going. Always keep in mind my people. And without that, I'm nothing. So yeah, for sure.
So with your mom and your dad as a foundation, and then you moving on, deciding to go to college, deciding to get a degree in African American Studies.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa. Yeah, it's going down outside. With you making those steps, what? First of all, first question I have is, what prompted you to pursue that particular degree program in college? What made you say this is exactly what I want to do, and this is what I'm gonna do it?
Mm-hmm. So like the ways in which I came into African American studies was through a brother who no longer is at SLU. His name is Dr. Stefan Bradley. He's actually at Loyola LMU, which is a school out in Cali.
Loyola Marymount.
Yeah, Loyola Marymount. And so basically I was coming in thinking like I'm gonna do music because I played the drums in high school, but I never really took it seriously to the point where like I could read music. So I was gonna start at the basic level and build myself up. I was like, I'm interested in computers because that's what my dad does. I can keep to you doing that work. But as I was navigating these different choices, in the back of my mind, it was always in my heart, and what I'm passionate about is my people. And so African American Studies, at the time, the director of the program was Dr. Bradley, and he had this mentor group called African American Male Scholars Initiative, whose aim was to help acclimate black males to the campus.
Right.
So through his connection with all these different groups, he came to me and was like, "Look, brother, you know what I'm saying? You got to at least take my Intro to African American Studies class." So I ended up taking it, and then from there, I was hooked. I decided to get it as a major. And with African American Studies, a lot of people don't know, but it's a lot of people who have that degree who have done wonderful, powerful, magnificent things in the world. And it's not what I would like to do with it eventually is get a PhD in African American Studies and try to expand Black study curriculum to the high school level. I feel like I shouldn't have to wait till I get to college or go to a particular high school to get more knowledge about my people and my contributions to society. And so
when you say that, let me interject real quick. So when you say that, are you saying that you want to build and like a separate course, African American Studies, or in high school, or are you looking to fully integrate African American history into the history courses themselves?
The second part, most definitely. Like I said, you shouldn't students go high schoolers navigate. I don't understand how you can be considered like cleared for your understanding of history without understanding the contributions that African Americans have made to U.S. history. Period. There is no U.S. history without Black history.
Right.
So I think what needs to happen is at the policy level, there needs to be like an implementation across the board where students are required to be exposed to that knowledge. What they choose to do with it is what they choose to do with it, but it's important to know not just part of the truth, but the whole truth.
Got it. That's a great thing to do, man. I know when I lived in Louisville, Kentucky for a bunch of years, we had at our high schools they had a Black student union, like at the historically Black high school. It started there, but then it like bubbled to all the other high schools, and so they as like a collective start advocating for including African American history into their curriculum. And while that group that was doing the advocating initially ended up graduating before anything happened, group 2 years after them actually I think got it. Well, they got I think they got like an elective course, but it's an elective course that they can take at their schools. So So I recognize that it takes steps, but I love that you're thinking about the end with the end in mind.
For sure.
That's where it is. All right, well, that's dope. Let's get back into your playlist, man, because you got T-Dub-O and Tef on this in the next song, man.
Absolutely.
Regrets. What brought this song on for you?
So, in part, me meeting them, period, and getting to know them as a really, as activists. I know people kind of funny about owning that title sometimes because they don't want to be seen as one dimensional in a certain kind of way, or for it to be misunderstood in a certain kind of way. But I'm meeting them as some brilliant activists in the community that sincerely cared, that were using art as a medium to creatively express how they felt about what was going on, and also to document the truth about what was going on at the time. And so the song Regrets isn't like the subject matter of it varies, but in it you can see that theme of like just the experience of what was going on with Ferguson, but beyond Ferguson, what it's like to navigate St. Louis City as young black as brothers, as young black people. And so in the song, T-Dub has this line where he talks about young black males, we all in danger, disadvantaged scum of the planet just want to make it, so it's about this idea that often young black brothers find ourselves in this state of survival. Like we got like we if if the lights are off at the house, if this is not here, this is not there, we want to take all this on ourselves because we feel like if we don't do it, who's gonna do it, who's gonna get it done, right? And Tef has a line, and also the danger part, like just navigating, and we're not just talking about police, we're talking about stray bullets and stuff like that, like stray bullets hitting you, and family passing away way too soon and stuff like that. Like it's just a bunch of bull that come with it. Tef has a line in there where he talks about how battle rap. He says, rappers rock the city, burned down, and battle rapped about it. We almost died. You fuck boys tried to laugh about it. In reality, a lot of people took lightly what was happening on the ground. In response to what's happening in Ferguson, but it wasn't no game. It wasn't no joke. Like if you was out there for real, beyond just the tear gas and the pepper spray and all the other stuff, the possibility of being arrested, losing your job, getting kicked out of school, whatever the case may be, it was a lot of risks that were involved in that. And people like to make light of folks' sacrifices, saying stuff like, protesting isn't effective, it don't work, and y'all didn't really do nothing, y'all didn't really change nothing. I mean, change is incremental, you know what I'm saying? It's a process often. And so I think people put their best foot forward out there, and Tef is lifting that up through that lyric. And so Regrets as an entire song is just dope as fuck to me. But those two lines I spoke to like really resonated with me, both from Dub and from Tef.
Nice. Let's talk more about it in a second. Let's go and listen to a little bit more of Regrets. Right now, this is Life on Wax with your boy Ted Jr., of course, a special guest, John Poe. So you talked about a couple things that I think I want to go ahead and dive into a little bit more. You talked about the issue that some activists have with owning their activist label. Why do you think that is? I mean, you talk about not wanting people wanting to, like, I guess, say diverse or not be labeled, but do you think that it's important to own that label? I mean, to own that title, or no?
No, I think that for me, I think it's important to own it, right? Because whether you know it or not, you know what I'm saying, you got young people looking up to the work that you're doing, and you have to call it something. It has to be something. You could say, I'm just doing work for the community. That's cool. But in my mind, that's a kind of activism, that's just what it is. I think the reason why, and I can't speak for everybody, but the reason I sense that there's a tension with it is that when you work a job that's paid to do community work and that job ends, are you going to continue to do that community work? And the question, I think, is often the jury is still out on that question for some people. People like you and I, people that we know and stuff like that, sincerely, whether we got paid to do things or not, we'll do it because we want to see the change happen. And to be honest, we have even if we don't stay in communities that are disinvested, terrorized by police, etc. Like, we understand that we have family that are it's in it. It's a larger thing. It's a larger issue. It's a larger cause that we're fighting for, not just ourselves. And so I think that that's the tension that folk have is, if I don't want to be associated with those people who are only out there because they're receiving something for being out there. And it comes from a level of being sincere and genuine. People every day, police, every day is something going on with police. Every day is something going on with gun violence every day. So don't just show up because you're on a time clock,
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah.
Well, you talked about some of the issues that you run into in Ferguson and how some people who are out, I guess, on the outside looking in, kind of didn't see the importance of what was happening on the ground, or didn't really understand the level of coordination that's still necessary. The level of intelligence is there for the people that are down on the ground. Because I think people on the outside just feel like it's just a bunch of folks doing haphazard stuff. And I'm really glad that you're kind of talking about it and letting people know that no, this one, people that were down here doing it are super intelligent people. I mean, there's people that have real that do real work in a lot of other places, and then they go and protest. It's not like this is all they do with their lives. And if it is, and if it is, that's okay too.
For sure.
I saw a picture of you somewhere on Facebook, but I think it's a bag or something you had that says Ferguson Talk. What does that mean to you? What does that phrase mean to you?
So I have the same phrase. I ended up getting that same phrase actually put on my cap for my graduation. Often, as I was saying earlier, my mom, even my dad, were really big on saying, remember that you didn't just come out of nowhere. You came from a place, from a tradition. And I look at Ferguson as a part of the larger Black freedom struggle. The issues that we had out there, the problems we wanted to address. This stuff didn't start in 14, right? And it still is ongoing. You got Ahmaud Arbery, you got all these different students happening, sisters being killed, etc. LGBTQ folk. And so, like, for me, it's a situation where Ferguson definitely taught me in many ways, and really as a reminder, because I had been exposed through my work with Ramona Taylor Williams, who was a mentor with Tribex, with my mom and Mama Mixon and stuff like that. Mama Ramona Taylor Williams, Queen Mother Ramona Taylor Williams. I was exposed to a lot of this community activism and organizing. So Ferguson taught me really to keep that same energy, keep that going, not to fold, and not to know that this is distance. It's not a sprint in many ways. And some of the issues we want to solve won't be resolved overnight.
Got it. I'm glad you said that, man, because I think a lot of times people think that younger folks don't understand or don't appreciate the history, and people sometimes believe that younger folk are focused on kind of what's just happening right now. But the fact is, like you said, what happened in Ferguson and what happened with Brother Arbery and what's continuing to happen is part of a full timeline, and it's all part of history at this point. And it's important that we treat it that way, because we'll sit back and we'll memorialize folks that were doing work during the civil rights, quote unquote, civil rights era, the 60s. But we'll look at people now and say, "What are you doing?" and so I'm really glad you said that. What specifically did Ferguson, and then we'll move on to something else, to the rest of the playlist. What did it have on your personal social justice agenda?
Sometimes you just gotta embrace their pain.
So, on like just my understanding of social justice, how did it influence it? Or
well, I'm kind of thinking about when you think about social justice and how you approach it personally. what effect did that have on shifting it or galvanizing it or confirming or whatever?
For me, it definitely put a few things into perspective. One of those being that there's a need for agitation, right? And people, when I say agitation, I mean within the context of being putting feet on the ground and doing things that certain classes and kinds of people don't like. To be frank, whether that be stopping traffic, shutting down businesses, um, occupying campuses, things like that are kind of non-respectable and not really conservative, right? But when we talk about a young man who never got to have a life beyond his diploma, who was laid out on the street for 4.5 hours, and this is connected to a lot of trauma we see in pain we feel in our community. You're gonna have to see us. You're gonna have to deal with that, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, Ferguson, because I was so active in direct action, just being in the streets when it wasn't necessarily a coordinated action, that particular moment just affirmed for me the importance of agitation connected to education, though. Like, there's the reason why we're out here. We're not just out here because it's fun, because we're not out here risking being hit by a car because we think that's cool. We're out here because when we stop this traffic and you hear why we stopped the traffic, you're gonna be pissed at the fact that we slowed you down from heading to St. Charles or whatever the case may be. But at the same time, you're gonna have to wrestle with the fact that down the street, you know what I'm saying, it's just as real as it is on your side of the yard. So yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, that's dope, bro. We're gonna get back to your playlist stuff.
Okay.
And the next song, you kind of threw me a bit when you gave me this song, man, because I use Spotify, just so everyone knows we are on Spotify. Just look for Life on Wax with Ted Jr. We have all of our old episodes there. But I usually go to Spotify, find music, and the person you gave me, I'm like, I can't find them. Man, I don't know if I've heard of this guy before. And so I go searching. I get to SoundCloud. Wait a minute. Is this your brother?
For sure.
This is your brother. Brother David Bagot, he goes by Captain Black.
Yeah.
And he's got this song called Drive Slow. Let's listen to Drive Slow, and then let's come back and talk a bit more about why the song's in your playlist. All right. So it's Drive Slow, Captain Black. This is your boy Ted Jr. right here with Jonathan Pulphus on Life on Wax with Ted Jr.
Yeah, for sure.
So talk about why you want to make sure we heard this song in your playlist.
It was more than just a shameless plug. Captain Black, SoundCloud, David Pulphus, David Pulphus. Really, the chorus over and over again. Well, yeah, the chorus is Uncle told me as a man, don't be careful when you won't, just be careful when you can. Better drive slow, nigga.
Yeah.
When that's said, I just brings me back to moments where, like, I'll be out on the stoop with my brother and my uncle. He's talking about his my uncle Rodney, who's a really close friend of the fam and stuff. Like, we be out talking. He always dropping these jewels and stuff. And so for me, Drive Slow is just about not rushing into things per se, making sure that you make as many calculated decisions as you can, even if you're in a space where you don't have a lot of flexibility. Just try to be as flexible as possible when you are navigating different challenges and different things coming up. It's about being careful. And I'm glad my brother chose it as the chorus, because it just rings in my head a lot. And yeah, that's the main reason why I chose that.
Man, I like that. And I'll tell you, when I heard the chorus, the first thing I thought about was this pandemic that we're in right now.
Yeah.
And how the way things have happened, everybody had to just stop and slow down.
For sure.
And that's like the thing I've heard more from people than anything else. They were doing a lot, and this pandemic made them slow down. And I just feel like, man, I think you're 100% right. Sometimes you have to learn how to do things, but do things with caution. you know, and have that there. And then it's just I could see it. It's extremely visual. I could see, you know, we live in St. Louis, and folks, you know, folks drive at the speed of the song they're listening to.
For real.
So, and you always, if I feel like I can always tell when something's, hey, you need to drive slow because you about to mess something up.
Right.
Yeah, I get that 100%. So what's so other than this song, I know you got two brothers, right?
Yep.
I the youngest guy.
Yeah.
So what's something that kind of you learned from y'all brotherhood over your time? Something that's had a major effect in your life.
For me, it always put me in a position where I didn't necessarily have to find brotherhood in other people because I had that already. I had that core group, but blood or not. And so for me, it was important as the older brother to try to. I was always told, set the example, set the example. They're watching you, set the example. And so whenever I fucked up, I did something I wasn't supposed to do, and I saw them down the line do something similar to what I did, I always felt like I was letting them down in a certain kind of way. I wasn't driving slow. I was crashing out. And so for me, my brother, the brotherhood we have, again, like it's I'm privileged to have them as my brothers. I have that same kind of sense of brotherhood with my cousins, with some people I went to school with. My cousin Mario Jones, for example, like I'm with him almost every day, like that I am with my brothers. You know what I'm saying? David, Chris, Eli Bivens, like, and they all upstanding brothers. Gonna shake the world, change the world, all that. And I'm just privileged to be able to call them family and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I think there's nothing better than having good brothers, family or not, because you can choose your family.
For sure.
But having guys around you that help sharpen you, and then also just kind of let you be, is crazy.